Hey everybody, welcome to the Realistic Prepper. This is show number 9, and my name's Jack McLean. My co-host David Banther.
Nope.
How's it going, David?
It's going well. I'd like to welcome all of our new subscribers on YouTube. I posted a video on my main channel, which I need to remember to link our channels in the description box. Well, Jack and I each have our own separate channels as well. We discuss prepping related, but various things. We have a few tech things in there too. But I posted a video on my channel, and that kind of announcing this channel officially, and we got about 50 subs from that, and so welcome.
Right,
You
and
enjoy it.
I did the same thing on mine. Of course, I have less subscribers than you, and I think we got maybe 10 or 12 off that.
Hey,
But hey,
better than zero.
better than zero, better than zero. As long as we're getting it out there. And for those that are new to the channel, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear us talk about, we have bigger and better things to come. So don't think it's always going to be just David and I talking back and forth. This is the bulk of it. It is true, but we like to bounce off ideas off one another, and that's where this whole idea came from to begin with. But later, as we advance a little bit and we get some footage at the range, we're going to kind of spice it up a little bit. So don't think this is what it's going to be all the time, every time. Well, we try to be as consistent as we can be, but we're always improving. We're always getting better. The video is going to get better. The audio is going to get better, and so will the content will also get better. So if you like what you see right now, by all means, tell your friends. Have them go to our Facebook page. It's the Realistic Prepper on Facebook, and the Realistic Prepper podcast here on YouTube. So just have them take a look at it, and hey, the more the merrier. Today we're going to be talking about mindset, and more specifically, you could say the prepper mindset, or just being aware. Having the proper mindset to defend yourself, or the proper mindset that you need to survive, whether it be a shit hits a fan scenario, a fight, some type of confrontation, but just the mindset that you need to be able to get you through these situations, and how that differs from your typical individual who is pretty much oblivious to the outside world and anything that goes on around them. David, you were talking a little bit about that at the very beginning. How most people, they walk out their door and they get on the subway or whatever, and the first thing that goes in is the earbuds, and then they're completely oblivious to everything around them. Uh,
Yes, I mean, I think people leave their house because though in our home or our office, this is our comfort zone,
mhm.
and we feel safe here. And while we should still be on guard at our homes, we feel comfortable. We let our guard down basically,
Right.
and that's fine. But when you leave your house, when you leave the protection of your home, I think too many people, especially when they're driving, take that comfort with them that should not be there.
Hmm.
Because when you are complacent and when you are not staying alert, you are going to be susceptible more to bad things.
Hmm.
And that can be anything from as benign as a car accident that you could have avoided to getting attacked.
Hmm.
And if you're, driving in your car with the music blaring, or you're in public transit with your headphones in, you're dialed into your phone, you cannot be aware, of your surroundings.
Right.
And I can't stress enough how being aware of yourself, number one, and being aware of your surroundings are just very, very important aspects of preparedness. I think, as I was telling you, Jack, I think that's like the bedrock of preparedness.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
food prepping, water, all these preps we talked about, combatives, build on top of that. If you yourself are not aware and you're not prepared to react if needed, everything's gone by the wayside.
All of those preps are completely
Hmm.
useless without the proper mindset. You can, and that's what I tell my students too. I have students who carry a concealed weapon. I know people that know me know that I do, and I can also carry a knife, but the thing is, you can have all the martial arts training, you can have your weapons, you can have a $400 or $500 pocket, whatever the latest whiz bang tactical pocket knife is, and the custom whatever the pocket rocket of the day is, as far as your
Yeah.
handgun goes,
Mhm.
and you can have all that, but if you don't have the proper mindset, if you're not aware of what's going on around you, if you're oblivious to your surroundings, then you're inviting trouble. You just are. Now, when we talk about mindset, there's several aspects of it. It's not just a combative thing. That's what comes to my mind because that's what I'm more into than David is. But it doesn't just come from a combative standpoint. You have to have a survival mindset and shit hits the fan. You have to have a positive outlook, a positive attitude. That's your mindset right there. If you're, and we all know that person who's gloom and doom. Nothing's ever going to go right. Everything's going to go wrong. We all know that person, right? You cannot have that mindset in a shit hits the fan situation, or you'll just basically sit in a corner and die. You can't do that. You can't be that way. You have to keep a positive mental outlook. And, a lot of times just that will keep you going. That positive mental outlook. And, Dave and I, we don't talk a whole lot about our faith on here. But I'll go so far as to say, a faith in something, whether whatever it is you believe in, a faith in something, a higher power, if you want to call it that. To me, that keeps me going a lot of times when I would normally give up. You don't have to ascribe to that particular point of view, but you need some type of positive mental outlook, a focus mentally in a shit hits the fan type situation that says, you know what, no matter what comes, I'm going to get through this because I have my preps, I know what I'm doing, and I'm focused, and I'm going to get through it. And that's on the prepping side in particular. Now, if you want to talk about combatives, if you want to narrow it down to combatives, there's a whole different level of mental outlook and mindset you have to have when you talk about that. And David and I were talking about that a little while ago. You were talking about driving and how you needed how you need to be aware. We were talking pre-show, and I made the remark, and then David, it just clicked with him because he knew exactly what I was talking about because he does the exact same thing. When I'm going to my car, as soon as I get into my car, the first thing I do is lock the door. Very first thing I do before I put my key in the ignition, before I do anything. When I get in the car, when the door closes, the door gets locked. Now, and you made the remark, well, some people have told you, well, my car automatically locks at 10 miles an hour. Well, nobody's going to be attacking you in your car and you doing 10 miles an hour,
No.
So, go ahead and talk a little bit about that if you would.
Yes. Again, there's this podcast could be many chapters of different scenarios and how you are aware in each of them, and we're trying to not so much tell you what to do in each scenario, but overall give you the mindset. But two things. I want to go back and point on something, or rather mention something, the Jack, that you pointed out that I think is very, very, very important. You mentioned how you got to have that will to survive in prepping.
Definitely.
Or in any scenario.
Any scenario. Yes.
My father mentioned something to me earlier, and I forget what it was called. It's called like solutions-based reasoning or something of that nature. But anyway, it goes back to there's actually a movie on it I watched. There was a plane that crashed, I guess, in the Andes Mountains 30 years ago. They had like a rugby or a soccer team on it, and they had to survive for like 6 months.
Yeah,
I guess one of the guys that survived mentioned, I said, how did you do this? Because I think they had to cannibalize. Actually, it was beyond our thoughts and mindset. Right. He says, when something bad's happening to you, like you're just you're in a plane crash, your mind starts to spiral. Oh my God, I'm worried. I'm scared. I'm this. My dad tells me from learning this, you have 1 minute to get out of that mindset immediately, and you must find a solution to your problem. What is one thing I can do? Right. And I guess this gentleman said when they crashed the plane, he could have spiraled out of control. They're in the middle of a freezing woods, in the middle of nowhere. He says, I have to take a head count, and we take inventory of all the tools and then the materials we have. And he used that mindset every day. I think it was several months they were out there, and then he survived. So that's that mindset you have to have. But going back to the car thing, I think one of the biggest areas where people are very vulnerable in urban settings is when they're walking to their vehicle, whether from their home or from a store or wherever, because you are leaving that seal. Again, you'll hear us talk about that seal a lot. You're not completely sealed in like a grocery store. There is a level of safety there. when you walk out into a parking lot into your car, and I think women might sometimes have more challenging or have more challenges with this because they might have children with them in their purse or carrying something.
Exactly.
Your hands are tied up. You're not paying attention to your surroundings. You're trying to find your car, fumble for your keys. This is something I talk about with my wife constantly. You are a prime target for an attack.
Yes.
For a purse snatching, kidnapping,
well, and
whatever somebody has in mind.
Right, and the reason for that, let's go back to mindset. Let's look at the mindset of a criminal for a second. And a criminal is nothing more than a human predator. Okay, if you look at any, I'm sure everybody's watched National Geographic and these nature shows and what have you, and they've seen these lions on the Serengeti or whatever, and how they stalk their victims and their targets. Now, what they generally go after, they profile. They profile their victims. They go after the sick, the weak, the ones that aren't paying attention, the ones that are lagging behind. Those are the ones they go after. Well, it's really no different than a human predator. A human predator will stalk his victim. He will make a decision, he or she, but he will make a decision based on how easy of a target of opportunity is this person. How likely am I to get hurt? How likely is this person to fight back? How attentive is this person? Or do they even know I'm around? And a lot of times your confrontations or your robberies and muggings and stuff like that can be avoided simply by being aware of what's going on around you, because they're depending on the element of surprise. And when you look up and when your head is up and you lock eyes with them, they know, oh, I've been seen. I've lost right there. I've lost the element of surprise.
Exactly.
So now you have a different type of situation. They know you're aware, and they've lost a little bit of that edge that they had. Now, what David's talking about, and I know we've all been guilty of this at some point. We all
yes.
have. But really try to avoid this if at all possible. If you want to check your phone, and we've all been walking out to our car and get a text message or whatever, and we want to check our Facebook status or what have you, right? If you have to do that, if you absolutely have to do it, wait till you get inside your car first. Keep your phone in your pocket or down by your side. Have your keys ready when you walk out. Don't be standing there at the door fumbling through a handful of keys with your juggling your cell phone in one hand and your kid in the other while you have. Don't wait till you're in your car and you have a little bit of a barrier between you and the outside world. Lock your doors. Then if you must check your text message or whatever, that's the time to go ahead and take a glance at your message. Also, something you can do, instead of having your phone down here like this, bring it up to eye level, and that way you don't lose that peripheral vision right there. You can check your messages, and you can also see if anybody's coming in on either side of you. Just a little tip right there, but I know exactly what you're talking about because I see it all the time.
I see it, and again, not just women. I'm just saying women because of the nature of carrying a purse,
right.
But men guilty of it too. Hands tied up, briefcase, paperwork, or a kid hanging off them. You have to be ready to act. It's not like you're coming out in combat mode, but it's a mindset.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what I do.
It's not paranoia. Let's get that straight.
This is not paranoia. This is having a ready mindset that will translate into every area of your life and prepping, or just life in general. But me, when I have two basic rules, and then Jack, after I say this, I want you to go into the different coded levels that you do. Basically, when I am in public, I have two rules. A, when we go to a restaurant or any place, if at all possible, because I'm always armed, I sit with my back towards the wall and I am faced towards the exits. Whenever I'm in any building or any restaurant, church, wherever, I immediately look for the exits. It's just natural to me. It's not unnatural. I want to make sure my back is not to the main entrance and that I can see or at least have some view of what's going on big picture.
Right.
Very important. And number two, I'm constantly looking at people. I don't say I travel a lot, but I travel with some frequency, and I do profile. I'm not just saying that based off race. I profile based off body language, based off clothing, based off physical behavior.
Definitely.
And I'm constantly watching people. And to me, it's become so natural to me. I do it while I'm talking to my wife, while me and my family are having dinner somewhere. And if something is not right, it catches my attention immediately, and I act on it. Now, that doesn't mean I get up and pull my gun out. I've never had to do that. But I'll tell you one thing. One time, I saw a neighbor doing something that did not sit well with me, and I can't. And if you don't get anything out of this podcast, people, I want to tell you to just trust your gut. Even if your gut's wrong, I'd rather be wrong with my gut than not trust my gut and something bad happen.
Right.
I saw some neighbors doing something that most people would probably look over, and I won't get into what it was, and it just didn't sit right with me. Mm-hmm. So I talked to the police in town, told them what was going on, and they came out and they immediately told me, David, I'm glad you called us. That is definitely suspect, and most people would not even recognize that. They came out, turned out completely benign, no problem at all. But they said, David, we'd rather you trust your gut and call us out here than we have to come out in the rears and clean up a mess.
Right.
And so again, that goes back to just keeping alert, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of what's around you, being aware of who is doing what, and it'll take some time to build that up naturally where you don't think you're trying to do it or where you're looking paranoid. But just having that mindset is just crucial to survival and to allow you to quickly react to any situation, to save somebody's life, to defend yourself. But you got to talk about your different levels of awareness.
Well, first off, let me say a little something about you. You brought up this point, and I'd like to expound on that just a second. But about profiling, and do I or do I not agree with profiling? I'm gonna go ahead and go on record to say yes, I agree with profiling. Okay, yes. and it's been proven. Okay, certain people are going to have a certain look to them a lot of the time. Not all of the time. Not all of the time. You might have a guy or a girl who looks like a perfect angel and them do something nefarious, and you may have a guy who looks like a complete thug do something good. But chances are, if you got a guy who looks like a thug, he's got the tats, he's got the clothes, he's got the look, he's got the language, there's a real good chance he's a thug. I'm just, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. And if you, do I profile? Yeah, I profile. I do. If I see something that doesn't seem right, if I see someone who fits a certain type of individual that is notorious for committing crimes, especially in my general area, I'm gonna take a second look. If a guy walks up to me and he's engaging me in a conversation, whether he's wanting to borrow $1 or whether he's wanting to know what time it is or whatever, based on how this guy looks, I'm going to base a lot of it on how he looks. If this guy's wearing a suit and a tie and he just got out of a Lexus or a BMW or something, I'm probably not going to assume I'm about to get robbed, okay? If the guy, on the other hand, is walking out on the street corner and he looks like he's homeless and he reeks of booze or drugs, then I'm probably going to be at a higher state of awareness than I normally would be, but just because he does fit a certain profile. So don't ever be guilted into being politically correct to the point where you don't profile people and base what you're seeing on that. Don't be guilted into that. Okay. Now that being said, that's just me. Take it for what it's worth, but that's how I live my life. As far as the color code of awareness, and this is what I've been taught in several schools that I have been to, and this is what I teach my students. But what we go by is what's called the color code of awareness, and it was originally, I think, now I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure a guy named Jeff Cooper, back in the 70s, first wrote about the color code of awareness. And since then, there have been people to add in colors and take out some stuff and add in their own mix. But the original color code of awareness works, and just keep it simple and live by it, and you'll be fine. And what it states is, you have basically 4 colors, okay? You have white, yellow, orange, and red. And your color white is a complete state of unawareness. You have no idea what's going on around you. You're oblivious to everything. You're engrossed in what you're doing. You're on your phone, or you're just completely out of it. You're not even paying attention, and your house could burn down behind you and you wouldn't even realize it. That is the condition that we want to completely stay out of. Unless you're at home in your bed asleep at night, you want to stay out of condition white. You just do. Next up, you have condition yellow. Condition yellow is really the color we want to live in all the time, if at all possible. Condition yellow is not paranoia. It is a heightened state of awareness. Um, my head is up. I'm looking around. I'm making eye contact with people. I'm not, focused on my phone. I'm not focused on any one individual. I'm scanning my surroundings. I'm mindful of where everything is at. I'm mindful of where the exits are. Like David said, when I walk in a restaurant, I'm looking at people. If people have their hands in their jackets, especially if it's 85 degrees outside and they're wearing a coat and they have their hands in it, I'm probably going to be, a little alerted to that. Just little stuff like that, but you would never pick up on that if you were not in condition yellow. So in condition yellow, we just want to be aware of what's going on around us, heightened state of awareness, and not caught up in our own thoughts and our own mind with our earbuds in. So that's the state we kind of want to live in. Then you have condition orange. Condition orange basically is there has been certain cues that you have picked up on because you were in condition yellow and you were aware of what's going on around you. There have been certain cues that you've picked up on to heighten your state of awareness. This guy who is it's 85 degrees and he's wearing a coat, all of a sudden he's pulling his hood up over his head and he's got his hands in his pocket. There's kind of a cue right there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or somebody's walking toward you and you're not thinking anything about it, but you're aware that they're there and you've already made eye contact with this individual, and this individual speeds their walk up, is coming directly towards you, and they're starting to reach behind them. This is condition orange. You're not to the point yet where you're going to draw a weapon, but there's a cue that there might be trouble right there. So now your focus goes from here to right here. This is a potential threat right there. Now, if this guy should pull a weapon, he should pull a knife out from his back, and he's coming towards you. Now you're in condition red. Now we elevate it. Now you know there's an actual threat. He's coming towards you. He's 20 feet away from you. He's walking fast. He's closing the distance. Yes, he is a potential threat. Yes, he has a knife. I need to do something right now. I need to act, and you're in fight mode. So there's your four states of awareness, four colors right there. Try to keep it simple. There's people that add in a fifth color and what to do after the situation's over with. They call it condition black or whatever. Just keep it simple. If you'll keep those four colors in mind: white, yellow, orange, and red, and just keep those in mind and try to live in condition yellow, I think you'll be fine.
I think you would say Jack too. We don't have to be like, okay, I'm in condition yellow. Okay, now I'm in condition orange. It's not that. It's a natural flow that when you develop this mindset. Though it's always occurring with you. You're not having to
right, and you'll wake yourself up sometimes. I mean, I have caught myself. Once you get in that proper mindset, and there again we go back to mindset. Once you get in that awareness mindset, you will catch yourself, and I know I will. I will be in a parking lot. Say I'm waiting on my wife to come out. She's taking care of something in the bank. I didn't want to go into the bank just because I didn't want to, and so I'm sitting there in the minivan, right? And I have caught myself, just being out of it, being into my phone, whatever, zone out, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I'll kind of wake myself up. I'll reach over. I'll lock the doors. I'll look around. I'll scan around. I'll look in the mirrors. I'm like, okay, I can go back for a second or two, but every every minute or two, I'm going to look up and I'm going to scan my surroundings. That's just what I do. It's not, again, it's not paranoia. It's just being aware of what's going on around you. That way, if something should happen, you have a heads up. You're ahead of the game. If you'll watch some footage from there was a shooting. I believe it actually happened in Florida a few years ago. There's a guy that walked into a restaurant with a gun, and
it happens here with some frequency.
Well, and he headed in for I think he headed in for the owner and maybe the owner's son. And he came in and he pulled the gun out and he opened fire. And if you'll watch the video footage, if you'll watch it kind of slowed down, you'll notice there's a couple of people that seen this guy when he first pulled the gun out. These are the people that got out of the building before he started shooting up the place. Why? Because they were aware of what was going on. They were not so completely engrossed in their conversations that they couldn't be aware of the entrance. The people that did get out were facing the entrance. They were watching what was going on, and they knew where the exits were. and those are the people that made it out without getting shot or shot at. So
I mean, it happened, Jack. Just I live in a very, I don't want to say peaceful community, but a very quaint area. We have Publix, which is our grocery store. It's a very nice grocery store chain, best in the nation. We say it's a Florida brand, and it's a particularly nice Publix here where I live. Not a place you picture getting shot. It's actually made national news, and they did a documentary off it about a month ago. A former employee was disgruntled and came in and shot her manager dead, and went to go on a shooting rampage in the store. And they showed the video footage. I know the officers personally who responded and tackled her and got shot at.
right,
But again, a place that we go here all the time in town. It's like we jokingly call it Grand Central Station here in my town. And just more fact that even there we have to be aware. But I want to bring up two things, Jack. Creating barriers, and to talk about driving briefly. One thing that is very important, and when I do all of my Krav Maga stuff, they're very much into teaching creating barriers for yourself, not leaving yourself exposed. And again, all this has to be worked into your natural flow. You don't want to look awkward like you're dodging things when nothing's there. But you don't want to naturally have yourself in any situation you're in just physically exposed, where you, as much as you can help it, where you could use the environment around you to either deflect something or to actually defend yourself. And I think that's very important. And that goes back to where when you were talking about you were over at your wife's bank. You don't just want to. Not all parking spots are created equal. There's a certain place that you want to park your vehicle where you are using the environment to create barriers and protection. Right. Maybe you park against a wall, so you don't have to be doing a 360 view. You can do a 180 view, or something of that nature.
And it's the same principle as finding the seat in the restaurant with your back to the wall, because now instead of 360, you got 180.
Yeah, you always, and again, to me, and this will come naturally. You want to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of yourself, and then use the environment, use things that are around you, that you say, you know what, I could use that table, I could use that chair, I could use that object to either deflect somebody or to defend myself. And that's very important too. Secondly, driving. Something we all, or most of us all do. And again, this could be a whole nother podcast, and I am not qualified to teach you defensive driving. I get joked about that I drive like a grandma. But and Jack's more the race car driver.
Right.
But that's just because I drive a big old truck, and I don't like getting tickets. Right. But I'll give you an example. When I was driving to Atlanta, I drove up to Atlanta for business on Sunday and drove back on Tuesday. It's about an 8-hour trip each way. And I told Jack this. I have a policy when I drive. Now, because of the size of my truck, people generally don't get mad at me or don't verbally let me know they're mad at me. But if you have a smaller vehicle, you might have to be more careful. But I drive in the left-hand lane on the interstate, and at least here in Central Florida, the left-hand lane usually has a wide median I can go into if I need to get around something or somebody. And I go about 10 miles over the speed limit. I don't go more than that. For me personally, Jack's probably laughing, that allows me to safely stop and go though as I need to. I'm guilty of this, but I try not to tailgate people. People just get right up on your ass nowadays, and again, I've been guilty of it. But it's so stupid. Not only if someone hits you, you're going to hit the person in front of you, but you have no way of escape. Whenever I'm stopped, whenever I see a car stopping in front of me, I try my best to say, okay, where can I stop that's close enough where I'm not slowing traffic down, but far back enough where I can get around somebody if needed, because that's very important.
Exactly.
Having a method of escape in any situation you're in.
And it may not be, it may not be a situation necessarily. I think that's a very important point. It may not be necessarily a situation where someone is purposely trying to block you in because they're trying to rob you or steal from you or whatever. It may just be a situation where there's an accident and you don't want to be that close to it when it happens. It gives you an out.
Exactly. And then I always drive. Something that one of my friends taught me when I was young. I drive with all of my mirrors very heavily,
Hmm.
meaning my side mirrors and my rear view. I
Right.
almost depend on those as much as I do looking forward because I'm constantly wanting to know what is everything around me doing
Right.
because how fast I can stop, how fast I can speed up, that will has a large impact on what's around me.
Hmm.
But I mentioned something too that's very important, not just in driving but anything, is having that area for escape. You don't want to be so complacent wherever you are that you allow yourself to get blocked in. Now we can't always avoid it,
Right.
but whenever you can, whether you're driving, you're flying, you're on a train, a car, you're seated somewhere, never have it where you can't get out. As a rule of thumb, when I fly, 90% of the time I sit in the aisle. I want to be able to get up and act. What if I get sick, or what if I need to act on something? I don't want anybody or anything impeding me getting up. Now, I'm a big boy, and I will tell you this: I've met very few people who would actually impede me if I needed to get through them.
Right.
But still, nonetheless, I don't want to have to do that. So, you always want to have, driving or otherwise, an area of escape, and that's very important because if you get blocked in, that's when your choices are limited. So, just in general, just all don't just you don't just always have to be, well, I'm just going to watch everybody and that's it,
Right.
like you're some creeper. It's about also watching your environment, using your environment to help you, to protect you, and then to not block you in somewhere.
Well, it's funny you should. It's funny you should say, not be a creeper, because my wife would tell you that I'm the creeper of all time. Because, and it's because I play these mind games with myself to keep me mentally aware and keep myself mentally sharp and aware of what's going on around me. So I will randomly observe certain things. In other words, when we walk into a restaurant, I will look at, first thing I do, I'll stand there for a second. And while we're waiting on our seat, waiting to be seated, I'll look around. Okay, there's an exit. There's a bathroom. Here's the way in. I'll look around, see where people are generally sitting. The server, I'll look, see what her name tag is. I'm looking around at different people. I'm listening to conversations, and I'll be honest with you, I have sat there, and my wife and I be finishing up our meal, and I can tell you what the person behind them is talking about. I can tell you that these people over here are breaking up. I can tell you that this guy's dog died last week. I can tell you the people behind me, they're having trouble with their teenage daughter. And I mean, I'm taking in all this, and she's like, that's just creepy that you're, well, maybe so, but if this situation over here got out of hand, this breakup that's happening over here, and this guy got up and maybe pulled something out, I'm going to be aware of it long before everybody else is, and I'm either going to be able to get me and mine out of that situation or take action if I need to, because I was aware of the tone of voice going on over there. Not necessarily every single word in the conversation, but when you hear the tone change, when you hear someone, that higher pitched tone, that aggressive tone, it's something to cue in on. Well, if I'm completely focused 100% on my steak or my phone or whatever it is, which you really shouldn't be doing if you're out with your wife anyway, by the way. Have your phone out the whole time. That's bad form.
Yeah,
We'll
exactly.
get into that later. But, if I'm 100% focused on right here, what I'm doing right now, I'm not going to be cued in to these subtle little things going on around me that's going to give me a heads up. I mean, I'm just not going to be. So that's what we mean. You don't have to take it that far. I like playing those little games with myself, just to keep myself mentally sharp. Because if I don't, I find my mind wandering. I start thinking, well, what am I going to do when I get home? Well, I wanted to finish that tutorial in Final Cut, and then, I wanted to clean one of my guns. I wanted to get the SKS out tonight and oil it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about all this stuff, and meanwhile, life is happening around me, and I have people all around me. I need to be focused on it, living in the moment, so to speak. Living in the
It's
moment.
just called keeping your head on a swivel.
Exactly.
It's letting it's and again ITS Tactical, which I've linked before, has some excellent, very practical articles on being aware of your surroundings and whatnot, and I will link those down below in the show notes. No, you hit the nail on the head there. You're not so much eavesdropping or trying to get someone's business behind you, but again, you're living in the moment. You're engaged in whatever you're in, talking to your wife, talking to your kids, but at the same time, you're staying aware of all that's around you, not letting your mind wander off. Again, guys, everything we've said not to do, I've been 100% guilty of. That's how I know it's wrong.
Everybody has.
Because I've done it.
Everybody
I've
has
done
at
it.
some point.
I've done it, and I will do it again.
Oh yeah.
Okay? So, but one example I do, and just to give you some examples here, when the time change is which is this weekend, actually, though I hate springing forward, you lose that hour of sleep, but it does allow it to stay light later. And now, where Jack lives, he won't be doing outdoor activities for quite some time, or at least the ones that he enjoys. But down here in Florida, we have that ability to, and it'll start staying light here until after 8 o'clock. So we have a great bike trail where I live. It's like a little paved road, actually, for a bike. And I love to go on my bike and go about 10 miles round trip. It's peaceful, and listen to a podcast. Well, actually, I'm greatly exposed, and the path goes through some nice areas and some not so nice areas. So I obviously, because I'm me, I carry certain things with me that I could use if I needed to. But I like to listen to music, or not music, rather, different podcasts like this while I'm biking. Well, there's no way I'm going to bike 10 miles with headphones in. It's not going to happen. I could not hear bikers behind me. I could not hear if there was something going on ahead of me, behind me that needed my attention, loud noises, a siren. So what I do is I use a Bluetooth headset, the one like you would talk on the phone with, like this one right here. And I can hear my podcast perfectly fine. I usually crank it up, and then my left ear is reserved for hearing the environment around me. And I found that to be a very good medium, a very good balance where I can enjoy myself. Again, we're not trying to make you act like G.I. Joe and you can't enjoy when you're out. No, you still enjoy yourself, but you keep one channel free for your environment. And that way I know I could react if needed. So that's one of the examples I do. And then I even kind of started to, though I stopped going to the physical gym, I've kind of been making one in my garage. But I was always very careful in the gym, because I did do this in the gym. I did use both headphones. Now in the gym you have a bit more of that seal, but what I did to make up for having both headphones on, I tried to beef up my visual awareness. I'm not looking at my sexy body in the mirror, and that's a joke, by the way. Pumping iron. I'm working out and focusing on what I'm doing, but I'm also looking. I use the mirror to my advantage. I'm looking all around me.
Right.
And that's just something you have to do.
Right, and you would be surprised. Well, you wouldn't be, but I think the average person would be surprised once you turn this on, and you start living in condition yellow. It does become easier. It's going to be a challenge, and I'm not going to kid you and say that it's not a challenge still, but it's going to be a real challenge for the first few weeks. Once you get in the proper mindset, and I didn't really learn this until I was a correctional officer, but once you get in that mindset, it's easy. It's easier, not easy, but it's easier to maintain once you hit that mindset. And like David said, we're not recommending that when you go out to your car in your driveway that you jump around from tree to tree in full camouflage and face paint.
No.
That's not what we're recommending here, and we'll save that for the what is it, the Doomsday Prepper people.
Preppers can do that.
We'll save that for them. That's not what we're about here. We're about keeping it real. We're about being realistic. Also, along those lines, along with anything else that we talk about knives, we talk about guns, we talk about unarmed combat. Get training. There are schools that specifically teach this stuff.
Exactly.
Now, if you're involved in law enforcement like I've been, or you've been a correctional officer or a security guard or whatever, you probably have a little bit of this training. Now, the more deeply you get into those areas, the more intense the training will be. But you can go to places, and one of the first things they will teach you is this color code of awareness, and they will give you some tips on things that you can do. And generally, David and I, we're not going to talk about specific tactics, but just some things you can do, like you said, like wearing one of your earbuds in and leaving one ear free to hear what's going on around you. It's common sense, little common sense stuff like that. If you park out at the far end of the parking lot that's not well lit, we carry flashlights on us. Use them. If you know for a fact that you locked your door and when you come up to your car is unlocked, you may have a problem. Back away from the car and pull your flashlight out and look on the inside of your car and walk around it. You know, it's not paranoia. You know, if you're afraid of how it's going to look to bystanders, you know, they may think you're just checking your tires to see if your tires are low. When in reality, what I'm doing is, because my car was unlocked and I know for a fact that I locked it, in reality what I'm doing, I'm scanning around the car in case somebody's getting ready to jump out and try to rob me. But they don't have to know that. Your average person doesn't have to know what you're doing. You can play it off, and you don't have to be super paranoid about it. But I had rather come across as looking just a little bit paranoid than I had be a victim. And I think we can both agree on that.
Oh, yes, exactly. I mean, and again, once you work this into your lifestyle, it's not going to feel, again, if you are completely not in this world of preparedness yet, you might be thinking, my God, these guys are crazy.
Right.
But once you work this into your mindset, it's just natural. And and Jack was right, seek training. And usually this is built into most martial arts training. It is to mine. I know to Jack it is as well. But there's books on this. You can go as extreme as the book. It's called the Bulletproof Mind, where it actually talks about the mindset of soldiers in World War I, World War II, and how most people don't have the mindset to kill. That's a whole other issue. But again, builds on this topic that we're talking about, having this ready mindset. But just, guys, bottom line, just be alert. Be aware of yourself first. Be aware of those you're responsible for. Be aware of your surroundings. It's just, and again, once you do it, it becomes so natural. It's just not awkward. And trust your gut. If something doesn't look right, there's a chance it probably isn't. And like I'd rather be wrong and call the police than right and have to deal with a problem.
And I think that's a big thing right there. And you said you touched on that earlier, trusting your gut instinct. You know, how many times have you heard someone make the remark, you know, I just didn't feel right about that, but I did it anyway because whatever. I didn't feel right about going in that door, or I didn't feel right about, you know, whatever that particular thing is. They had that gut feeling. Trust your instincts, and you know, rather, like David said, rather be wrong than be a victim.
What's the worst thing that happens? You're wrong, and
exactly
happens.
The worst thing exactly. But you'll find, you know, most of the time when you have that instinct that something's going on, that something's wrong, something's out of place, you need to trust that. And the more you see, and the more you are aware, the more you're going to see that instinct's usually right. And the more that you're in condition yellow and you pick up on these little subtle things around you, you will see things. I guarantee you will see things long before the average person will see them. For instance, I have seen fights break out, and in parking lots, I've seen fights break out, and everybody else is like, "Oh man, it just came out of nowhere. These two just started going at it." I'm like, "No, that guy was talking about that other guy's girlfriend for 15 minutes. You know, this has been going on for a while. This has been escalating. But to your average person that was not paying any attention to what was going on, oh, it just came out of nowhere. No, it didn't. It led up to this, and it would have been the same thing if one of them had pulled out a gun or a knife. It led up to that, and because you were completely unaware and caught flat-footed, you were caught in the middle of it. So, you know,
you'll start to notice, I think, Jack, too, that when you get in this mindset, like you and I you notice people who aren't, and that's sadly more than not.
Definitely.
You're gonna realize, you'll see people, you're like, my goodness, I can't believe I was once that unaware of my surroundings.
And generally, I'll start messing with those people. I do.
And overall realize, but just realize this translates into just so many areas of life, and though over in Krav, they teach most criminals don't have an alternate plan, but rather an alternate victim. So if you're ahead of the game, if you're alert, if you have that plan where I know what I'm going to do in this situation or that, and you know how to act out that plan, you're going to be ahead of most criminals, because they're not thinking that far ahead. Most criminals, not all, most are not smart people. Okay.
Well, if they were, they'd have jobs and they wouldn't have to, wouldn't have to rob people.
Exactly. So. You know, so if you already have a plan in place, you are one step ahead of them, and that's where you need to stay. And you're going to be protect yourself, but most importantly, your loved ones.
Definitely,
So,
and I've made I've made this told you about this before. I'm not sure if I've ever done it on the podcast, but there was a situation that happened with me and a friend of mine. She's Walmart security, and I was walking her out to her car. I was heading home. She was heading home, so I was walking her out to her car, and these two guys pulled up. Just basically out of nowhere. They pulled up, and one guy got out, and I wouldn't have thought much about it, but then the other guy got out. And I looked behind me, and we're kind of boxed in back here, so I can't really go this way. And I looked at her, and she's as surprised as I am at this point. Both these guys are getting out. Now, the one guy comes up, and the one guy stops at he on the passenger side. He stops by the front wheel well of the truck. The other guy walks up to me, and I immediately put my hand out. I got my distance from him, and I'm like, "Can I help you with something?" So I engaged him first. I didn't let him make the first.
Exactly.
I engaged him first. I wanted to let him know, one, I know that you're there. And then I said, "Do you and your buddy need something?" So now I'm letting him know that I'm not only aware of him, I'm aware of his little buddy over here.
Yeah.
And so he walks up to me, and he gets, a little bit further away than arm's reach, because I got my arm out at this point. I'm like, "Can I help you with something?" And he, I ain't want no trouble or anything. And that's the first thing he said. "I'm not wanting any trouble." Well, who brought that up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't say anything about trouble. I didn't pull a gun. I didn't pull a knife. I didn't get back in a karate or a boxing stance.
Yeah.
But he automatically, well, I don't want any trouble or anything. And then his buddy starts walking toward me, and he's coming behind him. So I take another step back, and I quarter away from him. Now my gun's on my strong side hip. I take another step back, I quarter away, and I reach back. And at this point, he looks up, and he sees his buddy, and he's just like, he does that. He just like stops him cold. He's like, and he, "Oh man, I just wanted to borrow some money. My buddy and I, we're about to run out of gas. If you could give me just $4 or $5 to get back home. We live about 15 miles from here, whatever." And I'm like, "Man, I just spent my last little bit of money in Walmart a few minutes ago. I'm broke, and she's broke. We don't have any cash on us at all." And he's like, and he's doing this. He's reaching back, and he's kind of doing this to his buddy, like, move back. And him and his buddy just, "All right, man, well, I appreciate it anyway." And they jumped back in their truck, sped off, peeled out of the parking lot.
Imagine if you weren't there and she was walking out by herself.
Well, even at that, I mean, even if I had been there and been completely unaware of what was going on.
Whoa, what's wrong?
Yeah, and I'm not,
you get scared.
Right. And I'm not saying that they had bad intentions. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was completely innocent. But I didn't feel that way at the time. I didn't necessarily feel threatened at the time, but I feel like there was more to it than what was, what they had alluded to. I felt like there was more to it than that, and I think just me being aware of them being there, letting them know, "Hey, I know you and I know your buddy are here," and they kind of seen I was ready for something. I think just that probably prevented who knows what. Could have been a robbery,
sure.
Whatever. Well, how I think back on it, how different might that have been if I would have kept talking to my friend and kept my back to these guys. Well, how different would it have been if I'd have been, doing this and playing Candy Crush? You know what I mean? How different might the situation have turned out? Who knows? But I'd rather be safe than sorry, and that's just one of those situations where me being aware of what was going on around me, I think probably saved me.
I would say yes, that probably did save you.
So, just like I said, guys, we're not about this doomsday prepping stuff. We're not about, like I said, running from tree to tree and camouflage and face paint. Well, we're about, common sense stuff that could save you at some point. So
exactly. All right.
Do you have any final words, David, about the mindset?
No, just make sure you check the links below. I'm going to post some links to some useful sites, so that will give you some more information and examples, and just build upon there.
Also, if you want to look it up, David, or I can send you the link, you can post below. Anything written by Jeff Cooper or Masad Ayub on the color code of awareness would definitely come in handy.
I'll get that up. I will make sure to post that.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. Look us up, like us on Facebook. If you have any questions, you can either ask us on Facebook or you can email us directly at therealisticprepperpodcast@gmail.com. We're gonna have I think we already have our email linked on our page here. Don't forget, we are live on iTunes now. We're up to eight podcasts now on iTunes. So go there, download us, give us a positive rating, and if you like what you see here, subscribe. And not only subscribe, tell your friends about us.
Exactly.
All right, guys. I appreciate you watching, and thanks everybody. And tune in next week.
See you then.